You're looking at a city with straight roads, standardised building codes, indoor bathrooms connected to a citywide sewage system, and a public water supply that reaches every single home. The year is not 1900. It is not even 1000. The year is 2500 BC, and the civilization that built this city is one that most people have never heard of. They had no pyramids. They left no great tombs, no towering monuments to their kings. In fact, we have never found evidence that they had kings at all. They built no statues of their rulers, recorded no conquests, celebrated no wars. By every measure that the ancient world used to announce its own greatness, this civilization should have been forgotten. It was not forgotten. It was never known. For nearly 4,000 years, the largest civilization of the ancient world lay buried beneath the plains of Pakistan and northwest India, and nobody had any idea it was there. In 1921, an Indian archaeologist named Rakaldas Banerjee was excavating a Buddhist monastery in the Sindh province of what is now Pakistan. The monastery was not particularly old, only about 2,000 years. But beneath its foundations, Banerjee found something that made no sense. Bricks. Thousands of them. Uniform in size, laid in precise patterns, extending far deeper into the earth than any Buddhist structure had any reason to go. He kept digging. What he uncovered was not a monastery, it was a city. An entire city buried under centuries of river silt, its streets still intact, its walls still standing to waist height, its drainage channels still clearly visible running beneath the roads. They called it Mohenjo-daro. It means mound of the dead in Sindhi, and when the full scale of what lay beneath that mound became clear, it rewrote the history of human civilization. Because Mohenjo-daro was not alone. 800 kilometres to the northeast, another city was found. Harappa. Same bricks, same dimensions, same street layout, same drainage system. The two cities were built to the same specifications, separated by a distance that would take weeks to travel on foot, and yet they were unmistakably, precisely, identically planned. As the 20th century progressed, archaeologists found more, and more, and more. Over 1,400 settlements have now been identified, spread across an area larger than ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia combined. From the mountains of Afghanistan to the coast of Gujarat, from the deserts of Balochistan to the plains of the Punjab. At its peak, around 2500 BC, this civilization was home to an estimated 5 million people. It was the largest civilization on the planet, and until 100 years ago, we did not know it existed. Here is what makes the Indus Valley Civilization genuinely unsettling to historians. Everything about it is wrong. Not wrong in the sense that it was flawed. Wrong in the sense that it does not fit the pattern that every other ancient civilization follows. Egypt built pyramids, Mesopotamia built ziggurats, China built walls, Rome built roads to move armies. Every major civilization in human history announced itself through monuments, through warfare, through the glorification of power. The Indus Valley built sewers, not metaphorical sewers, actual functioning covered sewage lines running beneath every major street, connected to every single private residence, draining into soak pits at the edge of the city. Every home in Mohenjo-daro had its own bathroom. Many had their own wells. The wastewater from each house flowed into a channel. The channels fed into larger drains covered by removable stone slabs for maintenance, and the entire system carried the waste away from the living areas. This was not achieved again at this scale in Europe until the Victorian era, more than 4,000 years later. The streets were laid out in a near-perfect grid. The main roads ran north to south and east to west, intersecting at right angles. The widths were standardised. The bricks, and this is the detail that should stop you cold, were manufactured to a single consistent ratio across every settlement in the civilization. Every brick, every city, the same ratio, 7 by 14 by 28 centimetres, across 1,400 sites, across 800,000 square kilometres, for a period of roughly 700 years. Think about what that means. That is not a coincidence. That is not parallel invention. That is a centralised system of standardisation, operating across a continental scale in the 3rd millennium BC. We do not fully understand how they achieved it. We do not know what authority enforced it. and we cannot read a single word they wrote about it. Because the Indus Valley Civilization had a writing system. Over 4,000 inscriptions have been recovered, mostly carved into small square seals made of steatite. Each seal typically shows an animal, often a bull or a figure that may represent a deity, alongside a short sequence of symbols drawn from a set of roughly 400 distinct signs. And nobody on Earth can read them. This is not a case of partial understanding. It is not like Egyptian hieroglyphics before the Rosetta Stone, where scholars could recognise some elements and guess at others. The Indus script is a complete unknown. We do not know what language it represents. We do not know whether the symbols are logographic, syllabic, or alphabetic. We do not know if they read left to right or right to left. Over 100 serious attempts at decipherment have been made since the 1920s. All of them have failed. The problem is brutally simple. Every inscription is short. The average length is 5 symbols. The longest known inscription contains only 26. There is no bilingual text, no Rosetta Stone equivalent, no key that allows a scholar to cross-reference the symbols against a known language. Without longer texts, without a bilingual anchor, the script remains locked. 4,000 messages from a civilization of 5 million people, and we cannot understand a single one. What this means is staggering. We have their cities, we have their tools, we have their art, their jewellery, their toys, we have the layout of their homes and the bones of the food they ate. But we do not have their voice. We do not know what they called themselves. We do not know the name of a single person who ever lived there. We do not know their laws, their stories, their songs, an entire civilization, the largest of its era, and it is completely, permanently silent. And then, around 1900 BC, they vanished. Not in the way you might expect. There is no evidence of invasion, no burned cities, no mass graves, no layer of ash or destruction. The cities were not sacked, they were abandoned. Over a period of roughly 200 years, the great urban centres of the Indus Valley were slowly, methodically emptied. The population dispersed, the cities shrank. The meticulous standardisation that had held for 7 centuries broke down. Bricks were reused, streets became irregular, the drainage systems were no longer maintained. It was not a collapse, it was a withdrawal. The leading theory today involves the rivers. The Indus Valley Civilization was built around a network of powerful rivers, including the Gagga-Hakra, which some researchers believe may have been the legendary Sarasvati River described in ancient Vedic texts. Around 2000 BC, tectonic shifts and climate change caused several of these rivers to change course or dry up entirely. The water that had sustained 5 million people simply moved. Without water, the agricultural system failed. Without agriculture, the cities could not be fed. Without food, the people had no choice. They walked away, east toward the Ganges, south toward Gujarat. They dispersed into smaller communities, taking their knowledge with them but leaving their cities to the dust. Within a few generations, the greatest civilization on Earth was reduced to a memory, and within a few more, even the memory faded. The river silt covered the cities, the monsoons wore down the walls, the jungle grew over what the desert did not claim, and for 4,000 years nobody knew any of it had ever been there. Today, Mohenjo-daro is a UNESCO World Heritage Site. It sits under the sun in Sindh, Pakistan, its brick walls slowly crumbling under the weight of salt crystallization and monsoon damage. Archaeologists estimate that only about 10% of the city has been excavated. The rest remains underground, and the rising water table means that much of it may never be safely reached. Somewhere beneath those plains, in the unexcavated rooms of a city that was already ancient when Abraham left Ur, there may be a longer text, a library, a sealed chamber with inscriptions that run to 100 symbols instead of 5, a single bilingual artifact that would crack the code and give voice to 5 million people who have been silent for 4,000 years. Or there may be nothing. The Indus Valley Civilization may remain forever voiceless. A people who built cities more advanced than anything the ancient world had ever seen, who standardized their measurements across a continent, who engineered water systems that would not be matched for millennia, and who left behind 4,000 messages that no one will ever read. We know how they built, we know where they lived, we know what they ate and how they buried their dead and what toys their children played with. But we do not know what they called home. We do not know the word they used for water or for mother, or for the river that gave them everything and then took it all away. They are the largest silence in human history, and it is a silence that we may never break.